Okay, good morning. So my colleague Tim will show you how to use PowerPoint. No, so Tim Prudhomme is consulting at FHIR, and he will explain and describe how to implement the patient and provider API with FHIR Server.
Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Tim Prudhomme, and I'm a technical consultant and software developer at FHIR, and I work with a variety of FHIR software solutions, mostly APIs implemented with FHIR Server, but also data modeling with Simplifier.net platform. And I'll assume you're familiar with FHIR, so I'll give a little background about some healthcare problems we want to solve with it. I'll talk about how the United States government has mandated APIs to solve these problems, and how those APIs correspond to specific FHIR implementation guides. We'll walk through how to implement these broadly with a few details along the way, from mapping data to FHIR to importing it to the API solution. Whoops. Find my mouse. There it is. Okay. To importing it to the API solution, typically a FHIR server, to making it securely accessible. Finally, a bit about testing the APIs and reporting metrics about their usage. Now, this is for a specific use case in the US, but I hope it'll be clear that most of these techniques can be used for all kinds of uses of FHIR. Now, this is a technical talk, but I want to keep in mind the real-world problems that we want to solve. Namely, we want to improve the coordination of healthcare between patients, providers, and healthcare payers. This is especially important in so-called value-based care, where providers are paid based on overall health outcomes, as opposed to only for providing services. So multiple providers should be coordinating their efforts, but often, at least in the US, it's the healthcare payers who have patient data that spans across those providers. So part of the solution is make healthcare data more accessible, not only for providers, but also for patients. And this can, of course, empower patients to take preventative action in caring for their health. So we want to improve the process of exchanging, translating, and using healthcare data in these different contexts. And this is especially true in the context of paying for care. So, for example, for getting authorization for certain treatments. So to solve these problems, the U.S. Department of Health has mandated specific interoperability standards to improve healthcare data exchange. For providers, they've mandated in 2020 that all certified electronic health record systems must support FHIR-based APIs for patient and practitioner access. The deadline for that has passed, but there are updates to those APIs that are due by the end of this year. And then on the payer side, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has mandated that all federally regulated insurance plans must support similar FHIR APIs. For the sake of time, I'm only going to cover these two, the patient access and provider access APIs, most recently defined in the CMS-0057 rule, but much of what I say applies to these other APIs. So looking at the patient and provider access APIs, the scope of these includes data that corresponds to the abstract US CDI model, or United States Core Data for Interoperability model, developed by the Department of Health. And you can see what this, well, you can maybe see what it includes on this slide. I think you have the slides. And also see that it corresponds to a specific FHIR implementation guide called US Core. So this is clinical and financial data, but in addition to what's in USCDI, for this use case, it's also going to be data about prior authorizations and claims. So this is for any services rendered on or after January 1st, 2016, and this data must be accessible within 1 day of request for it. For patient access, this also should include drugs covered by insurance plans, And for provider access, patients should be able to opt out of their data being shared from payers to providers. So let's look closer at which IGs are specified quite literally in the text of these federal regulations. And there's a lot of overlap. Main requirement is to support FHIR R4 and US Core 311, although US Core 610 will be required by the end of this year. There's the CARIN IG for most financial data, the Vinci Payer Data Exchange IG, or PDex, for prior authorization data and other clinical data that's not in US Core. And these are actually recommended for now by CMS, not required. And then Smart on FHIR is required for security. On the patient side, OpenID Connect Core is required for enabling federated identity. More about that later if I have time. And the Drug Formulary IG is used to represent those insurance plan drug relationships. On the provider side, version 2 of Smart on FHIR is recommended for so that payers can most securely get data from payers using the bulk export IG, which is required. And again, many of these overlap with IGs that are required by the other CMS APIs. And I believe you have the slides in Whova, because I have a lot of information on here. And of course, I did include links to all of these. Hopefully that's helpful. Before we get into implementation, I want to suggest an overall strategy. Basically, a lot of tasks can be done in parallel by different teams. For example, you don't need to finish mapping all of your data before testing the process for importing it. Mapping and modeling data can especially take a long time. Second, as with any software development project, we want to test iteratively to get fast feedback. So we know when something goes wrong as soon as possible, basically at every stage of the implementation. And basically, there should be at least 2 teams, one broadly speaking for data modeling and the other for engineering. And yes, the most essential step is to map the data to FHIR if it's not already available in FHIR. And to do this, and you'll need to do this regardless of how it's going to be accessed. It's a big topic, but a few things to think about are: what is the scope of the mapping? In this use case, it's going to be any data that has a possible translation to US CDI, and specifically it's certain US core profiles which correspond to that, as well as data about claims and completed prior authorizations for treatments. And one thing I'd like to emphasize is that a good mapping preserves the original meaning of the data, so you want to avoid fixing things. Don't have more time to say about that, but if you do have bad data, it's all the more reason to use the provenance resource. Second, in order to create a mapping that can correctly translate your data, you'll need some examples of what a correct translation should look like. So you can make unit tests, which compare examples of data that you've actually transformed to what that data data is expected to look like. And this helps define what a correct translation is. Third, think about what references you're using between resources. FHIR is intended to be very flexible. Servers need not enforce that references. A FHIR server may allow references that don't exist for many reasons. So you want to be checking those references or allowing the server to generate its own logical IDs. Transaction bundles do require resolving references, but these could be placeholder references or conditional references, something to look into. And if you do have custom IDs, go ahead and at least add these as separate FHIR identifiers. even if they're not going to be used as the unique logical IDs with respect to the API solution. Fourth, validate your transformed data. There's a lot to be said about this, but generally speaking, context is important for checking profiles, again, the references, and of course, from the use of codes from external terminologies, which may require the use of a terminology server. Here's a peek of what's inside those IGs. Speaking of mapping data, I don't have time to go through this, but they're all based on US core, and I do want to draw attention to there's a particular profile for the group resource, which is used to attribute patients to providers by the payers. Engineer hat back on. How do you encode these mappings? There's a lot of options. Generally, you want to use a declarative approach, meaning you're focused on the relationship between data elements and less dependent on doing things in a certain order. It's domain-specific mapping languages like extensions of FHIR shorthand and liquid templates are pretty good at this, but more complex mappings are difficult to do with them, so you may find yourself wanting to use just a general purpose language, such as C# or Java. There are SDKs for that, and you can also take advantage of some type checking with those. And you'll want to think about how your mappings are going to be used in the actual transformation of the data. General language may be easier and faster for doing the transformation. And again, please validate your transformed data, and at the very least, keep track of the invalid data. Okay, so next step will be importing the data to the API solution. Generally, there's a trade-off between importing more data less often versus less data more often. So if you have a lot of data you need to make available, you could do a bulk import maybe once per day. Your API solution could be writing directly to the database as opposed to indirectly using the FHIR API. You could load data incrementally, maybe only when it's updated in the source system, using the FHIR API or perhaps some kind of message queue. Or you could do this all on demand as requests for the data happen, and what's commonly called a facade. And in that case, you're not importing the data to a separate FHIR API server, but instead serving it directly from your source system and transforming it on demand. And it's very tempting to use a facade, but you'll have to implement some tricky APIs like search and asynchronous bulk export. And if you aren't using a facade, and especially if you're importing data more often, you'll want to be making updates instead of creating a bunch of duplicate data. And you probably want to be avoiding updating data that hasn't actually updated, so you could use the last updated element. And keep in mind your requirements. In this use case, again, data needs to be available within 1 business day for request for it. Getting closer to actually using the data. Do I have time still? I feel like I'm running out of time here. This is going to have to happen in a secure way. And in fact, this use case requires Smart on FHIR, which basically defines standard permissions in the form of OAuth scopes, as well as certain kinds of API clients. For patient access, these are going to require user logins, like a patient portal. For provider access from the payer system, this is actually going to be backend services for bulk exporting into something like the provider's EHR. Right. Need to skip a few things here. If you're expecting real users, you'll probably want to integrate an existing user system. So you can use OpenID Connect for that to implement single sign-on. That's mandated by the CMS API. And in that case, you want to map your user's unique identifiers to a FHIR kind of specific identifier. And so Smart on FHIR defines the FHIR user claim for that, and that's supposed to be the logical ID of a patient resource if the user is a patient. And then on top of that, this isn't in Smart on FHIR, you'll probably want to use the patient compartment to grant access to other related resources to that patient, only if the user's FHIR user claim corresponds to, again, the logical ID of a patient resource. I believe I mentioned the FHIR group profile used by providers that can be used to grant access to specific groups of patients using, in this case, a US NPI number. And then also the FHIR consent resource is going to be relevant for representing that opt-out from the patient to the provider access. Okay. Finally, some options for testing these. Inferno is a test framework developed by the Department of Health for testing all of the required and recommended IGs. This is mostly going to consist of querying using custom search parameters that are required. And then for the patient access API, actually by the end of this year, you'll need to be able to report metrics about the total number of unique patients that have accessed the API and how often. Okay, and yeah, that's all I have time for. So if you have any more questions, please reach out to me, and I included links to how we do all of this with FHIR solutions. Thank you.
So indeed, we are running a bit out of time because we start also a bit late. So if there's one question, maybe we can take one question, but that would be it then.
Or maybe until the next presenter comes.
Yeah. No?
Yeah. Any questions?
How do you foresee CMS like coming through and checking all this? Like, what is their auditing program going to look like? This is like a lot of work and a lot of details to implement, but also to like audit.
Yeah, it's a good question. I know that they're focused even now on really enforcing this. Of course, you know, the main deadline is not until 2027, but I think it's interesting that the deadline for reporting usage about the APIs is the end of this year. So that may be relevant to, you know, for them preparing to enforce it.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're dealing with something similar to TEFCA. It's just like it's ambiguous. How do you know you're TEFCA compliant? How do you know you're provider and patient API access compliant? So
right. Yeah. I mean, I imagine there will be some sort of certification available too. So like there is for the EHRs. Yeah.
Okay. So I will, maybe you can follow. Yeah, but you need, otherwise you can always put your question on Wova.
Yes.
And also submit your feedback. It's also always a good idea. So thank you for attending.